Good afternoon, sir, and to everyone present there.
Yes, good afternoon, Professor Sharma. He has joined from Nehu. Professor Pattanaik, you have met him, Professor Dijan Sharma.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, I made him.
Yeah.
So how are you?
Yeah, fine. Thank you. How
After
are
a long
you?
time.
Nice to see you.
I'm fine. Thank you, sir. Same here, sir.
So, where are you now? In Guwahati or Tura? Professor Sharma?
Sir, I'm in Guwahati.
Guwahati.
I'm in Guwahati.
Okay. Right now in
Yeah.
Guwahati. Okay.
Yes.
Professor Patra is here. I have told him to join if he can.
Oh, that's nice.
My guest house.
Okay. That's wonderful. I could see Ratnatama also out there.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Hello.
Good evening.
Oh, Professor.
Knowledge.
Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
Professor Langlat from Nehu Silang.
Yes.
And welcome from my side, Professor Langlat. The thing is, I have not disclosed the occasion. I wanted to make it ceremonial to disclose the occasion.
Yeah.
So that is not in there in my invitation.
It's a pleasure to have this opportunity
Yes.
to join this occasion, sir.
Yeah. So thank you for joining. And Professor B.N. Pattanaik, I think we were talking about him during my visit last week to Shillong. No? Professor B.N. Pattanaik was in IIT Kanpur. Oh, I think you have not been made the host. No problem.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Dr. Rai, I don't see your
I'm
face. Okay, Dr. Rai is from Kalimpong.
Yes, sir.
He is very much close to the tribal life, particularly the lectures, and teaches economics and having maximum interest to work in the area of culture.
Right, sir.
The very senior faculty of Kalimpong College, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, sir, to this program.
That day you could not join, and I am very sorry for that. There was some miscommunication.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So, Preeti, I think we are right on time and we will not wait. We'll start. Preeti, are you here?
Yes, sir, I'm right
Okay.
here.
I think we are right on time now. 7. Okay. Let us start, please.
One of our panelists.
We'll ask Dr. Venkat if he's ready. Should we proceed?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is going on Facebook as well and the recording, sir.
One of our panelists is not here yet. Could we wait?
Sanjeev ji.
Ragini, she just joined. Okay.
And what about Professor Sanjeev Kumar? He's traveling from Jaipur to Delhi now, but he has told me that he will stop at one point and join.
Evening, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Professor Sanjeev Kumar is joining. জয়েন করুন তো। হুম?
Pattanaik sir, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Professor Sanjeev Kumar has joined. Professor Sanjeev Kumar, welcome, and we'll start our program.
Sir, sure.
Okay.
कहाँ से होगा इसको change
Preeti,
करो?
over to you, please.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good evening. I am Preeti Kalra, one of the PhD students of Professor P.C. Pattanaik. I welcome you all and thank you for joining us today on this very, very special occasion. Today, something that we are going to announce, something that is very close to our hearts, something that is very special. Some memories never leave your bones. Like salt in the sea, they become part of you and you carry them. But what can be the better way to give words to these memories other than through a book? They say pen is mightier than a sword. And this evening, we are here to witness the power of a pen. It will be an evening full of 35 years of memories coated with sugar and salt. To unclog the surprise, I would like to invite son of Professor P.C. Pattanaik, Gaurav Pattanaik. Over to you, Gaurav.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. This evening, with immense pride and pleasure, I take the opportunity to welcome you all to be a part of a very special book launch. Today, we unravel the memoir titled Against All Odds, 35 Years in Delhi University, Challenges and Opportunities, written by none other than your favorite Professor P.C. Pattanaik and published by Pen Books. If you'll just give me 1 second. Is it visible?
Yes, Pritam.
It is visible.
Yes. Not the full scale. Yeah.
This is the cover. And this is the memoir titled Against All Odds, 35 Years in Delhi University, challenges, and opportunities.
So yes, this is the surprise you all were called by Sir. This is a memoir written by him. And we asked Gaurav to basically unleash the book and inform you about the book because the book is dedicated by Sir to Gaurav. And I would like to read the part where he has dedicated the book to his son. It says, "The book is for my beloved son Gaurav, who has been fascinated by research and fieldwork since his childhood days and has repeatedly shown his eagerness to learn what they are. Throughout this work, I wish to make him aware of how to explore opportunities in challenges." Thank you, Gaurav, for being so patient and listening to Sir and motivating him to write the book.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, Dad.
Okay, so to begin with, we have a panel discussion on the book, and the panelists amongst us are our first panelist for the day is Professor B.N. Pattanaik, who is the Professor of English and Linguistics. Also, he is the former Dean of Humanities, IIT Kanpur. Our second panelist is Professor Dvijen Sharma, who is the head of the Department of English, Northeastern Hill University, Tura Campus, Meghalaya. We have amongst us Professor Sanjeev Kumar, who is the former head of Department of English and Foreign Languages and Dean Humanities, Central University of Haryana. Presently, he is the principal of Mihir Bhoj PG College, Greater Noida, UP. The fourth panelist amongst us is Dr. Ragini Nayak, who is the former faculty of English at the University of Delhi. Currently, she is the national spokesperson of Congress Party, and she was also the student of Professor P.C. Pattanaik. So I welcome and thank all the panelists for being here with us. Apart from the panelists, we have the author himself, that is Professor P.C. Pattanaik, present with us. We also have Mr. Shubhranshu Ponda, the publisher, Pen in Books, and imprint of Urya Media Private Limited, Bhubaneswar. Welcome, sir. Present with us are the students, friends, and colleagues of Professor P.C. Pattanaik. So I take immense pride in welcoming all of you to the panel discussion on the book. Now, the discussion will be in three segments. The first segment will be a brief note about the book, followed by the assessment of the work, and then the final concluding remarks, that is the nutshell observation as a reader. And it will move from one panelist to another. So without any further ado, let us quickly dive into Sir's world. So I'll start with the discussion, and I would request Professor B.N. Pattanaik to provide us the brief note of the book.
Okay, thank you very much. And greetings to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible? Okay.
Yes.
They say life is a journey. And then what is the story of a life? It's about the story of a journey. So I have seen this book as the story of multiple journeys, of a journey, but which can be seen from multiple perspectives. One perspective is this. See, here is the story of a young man who left, young man from a small town, Keunjhar, in Odisha, and that journey, from that place to the national capital of our country. So that's a journey, and that's a wonderful journey. So it is not just, and that journey itself. Now, Keunjhar, I don't know how many of you have been there. I hope some of your students might have gone there. Wonderful place. Such friendly weather you would hardly see. And now Delhi, too cold, too hot. Okay. So from a very friendly, protective kind of, delightful kind of, weather, he came to Delhi, too hot, too cold, and Delhi is too hot or too cold, not just physically, but symbolically too. And the story is about that. too hot, and how do you combat it? How do you combat the weather? So that's I see the story, from one perspective. That's the kind of story. It's a wonderful story. And the other thing is, see, here is also the story of a young scholar, from Odia, an MA in Odia literature, to where he is now. And look at what he has covered. And how many of us can really claim that, sort of people in India, it is very normal. MA in Odia literature, PhD in linguistics, and his work is the first work on Zhuang's first linguistic study. From there to comparative literature, and from there, to cultural studies and folk literature. And so this canvas is absolutely wide, and that's a journey. That's an intellectual journey from many disciplines. And he was an innovative teacher. Now tell me, in how many departments of literature do we teach a course, research methodology? No, so he's a very, very innovative teacher, very, very innovative, sort of scholar. And I don't want to take much time. So I see the book as the story of a beautiful journey, fascinating journey. And I can see the journey from many perspectives. It's a career journey, in the career path, it's a journey in career. It's a journey, as I said, from the friendly weather to very hot and very cold weather, and cold and hot in Delhi are symbolic. Okay, and the story is about that. And then the story of an intellectual. And look at the areas that he has, sort of covered. Literature, Odia literature, Odia linguistics, not just Odia linguistics, that's what I meant, general linguistics, comparative literature, and folk literature, and cultural studies. It's a wonderful thing. And the story of his, and his story, again, tall odds, describes this journey. Fascinating. And and it is written in such beautiful style. Believe it or not, I read the book in 3 sittings. I think each sitting 2 or 3 hours, but sort of it was a continuous kind of reading. It's a wonderful book. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, for being here and participating in this very, very special occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for providing the brief review of the book, brief note basically. Now I would request Professor Dvijan Sharma to provide a brief note about the book.
Well, am I audible, please?
Yes, sir.
A very good evening to all of you, and particularly to Professor Prakash Pattanaik. Sir has been a wonderful person since I knew him. I mean, of course, as a friend, guide, and mentor and philosopher for the last maybe a decade or so. Though we knew his presence in the university as from the time we were undergraduate students, and he has been a friend of the people from the Northeast, though he is from Orissa, and we have seen how he has helped in not only in guiding the students from the northeastern part of India, but he has came to the field. He has worked in the fields in the Northeast, and he has developed certain theories, and he has also done some good works. He has written some very significant works on, particularly from the northeast of northeast of India, on many tribes, particularly Kabis and some of these Pome Nagas and some other tribes of the Northeast. And he's so well informed about the tribes of the Northeast that sometimes I find it very difficult because, a person from Orissa and, who could talk, eternally on this area. And so, we become some kind of a fan of his at one point in time. However, when we talk about this book, Against All Odds, very title suggests, this book is about, he has traveled, he has, traversed, his journey, as Professor B.N. Pattanaik has said, from the time that he was a student in Orissa, then to Delhi University. And he has, experienced so many different things, many challenges in his way. When the dedication pays to his son, he himself has said that to find opportunities in challenges. I think that's something that we must all take home today, to find opportunities and challenges, because often we find challenges and many a time it becomes very difficult for us, to overcome it or to, traverse through. But then, if we can be like him and, find opportunities within these challenges, that would be wonderful. So this is a memoir, and this is very well written, in a language which comes from his own heart. I mean, in fact, this is written in a way that comes from the heart of one person, because it's so fluid. It just moved on, and even when you are reading it, you cannot just leave it. You just have to continue. And in fact, I had many sessions with him after reading the book, and I was asking him so many questions, and he patiently answered me. And another thing that he talked about in this book, we should all learn is the patience and dedication, because many of us today, our generation particularly, we become impatient with things. We need everything in a hurry, in a jiffy. But if we can, that Professor Pattanaik has reached today, and perhaps this would be my introductory, saying on this particular book. Maybe I'll come back once again later on. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for particularly highlighting the fact challenges in opportunities, because I guess this is what the book actually talks about. Now, I would request Professor Sanjeev Kumar to provide us a brief note of the book.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Particularly Professor P.C. Pattanaik ji, on this very special occasion when the memoir is being released and sir is superannuating. And of course, his students must be feeling nostalgic about what he contributed to the department. And of course, when he comes out with this book, I would say as the first note that yes, this book is not only about Professor P.C. Pattanaik, but whoever has been closely associated to sir will certainly feel like to be the integral part of the memoir. It's about everybody who has been associated to him during his journey at University of Delhi. This is the first observation after reading the memoir as a whole. Second important aspect of the memoir produced by Pattanaik sir is that I don't know how to say it, but yes, of course, when I read it, I found it at times I found it as autobiographical. At times I found it as a travel writing. At times I found it as, of course, as sir has already declared it as a memoir. And at times it is picaresque in nature also. Yeah, there are the elements of many genres put together. And that's how like it's interesting. It's very, very interesting because it gives you the flavor of many forms of literary creations, and it makes it rather more interesting. Third thing, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yeah. Third, because I'm traveling and that's why I feel that I may not be audible to you. Yeah, third very important aspect of this text is that I don't think that sir has left anybody unnoticed. Anybody unnoticed, whoever might have come his way during his journey while he was making the department was making him. Okay, it was a two-way process, and it is a sort of like a journey of the department as well as journey of a teacher, and both the journeys going together. And it's not simply a journey, rather there are many sojourns in the journey, which have been so nicely articulated by Professor P.C. Pattanaik ji. And of course, I could find that yes, more than the hardships, more than the odds which have been highlighted, the beautiful part of the story is the passion, the commitment, the sincerity, the affection that Professor Pattanaik sir could, of course, shower on the students particularly and to the younger faculty. That marks the book to be very special. And of course, this is my introductory remark about the book.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for putting in that how it is actually a two-way process, the making, how he made the department and department also. Now I would request Dr. Ragini Nayak to please provide us the brief note of the day.
Thank you, Preeti. A very good evening to everyone, all the students, teachers, faculty, everyone who has taken out time to be a part of this panel discussion. And immense gratitude towards Professor P.C. Pattanaik for giving me this opportunity and bestowing upon me this honor of making me a panelist for the discussion on his autobiography, Against All Odds. And let me begin my introductory remark with a quote by Henry Longfellow, which I think symbolizes the gist of this autobiography and the gist of work ethics, which are being highlighted in the autobiography by Professor P.C. Pattanaik. So Longfellow says, "The heights that great men reached and kept were not attained in sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upwards in the night." For me, this autobiography is a story of a starry-eyed bachelor coming from a small village in Orissa to one of the most premium educational institutions with big dreams and ambitions of making or building a career here, and successfully doing so through his grit, his determination, dedication, and discipline. There is a mixture, a touch of the mundane with the flair of the magnificence in this autobiography, which makes it exceptional. The way he blends both, I mean, simple little incidents of everyday ordinary life with the kind of excellence we can achieve through this mundane life, I think that makes this autobiography exceptional. One of the things which I wanted to highlight, I mean, there are certain disadvantages of being the last speaker because most of the things that you want to say have already been said by one of the panelists. But I would like to re-emphasize on the point that Sir chooses to name the title of the autobiography, Against All Odds, 35 Years in Due, Challenges and Opportunities. Being the eternal optimist that he is, a person who always sees the glass half full, a person who would never ever talk of negativity or pessimism, I had expected this book to be all about opportunities. I mean, challenges turned over, transformed into new opportunities, hardships faced with most commitment and dedication. And out of those hardships, Professor Pattanaik and many of other colleagues and students and research scholars about whom he talks in the autobiography, coming out with flying colors after facing hardships. I think this is something which he wants to pass on to the next generation, along with his fascination for research work, for field work, along with his passion, along with his commitment towards his academic work. I think there is also other values that he wants to inculcate. I think this autobiography is not just a string of memoirs, it is also a treatise of expertise. His expertise in linguistics, his expertise in tribal life, in language, in comparative literature, in so many fields that he has been working on, and also a collection of experiences. All of this together gives a different flavor, a different context, and a different color to this autobiography. And I would say that, yes, it is a very easy read, but it leaves us with many impressions, many positive observations, many values that each of us should inculcate. And one very important lesson, that towards the end of our lives, or towards the end of our careers, towards the end of our academics, very few of us can stand tall with our head high, saying that we have made more friends than foes, and cautioning us that it doesn't matter how many friends do we have, we should always keep our foes closer than our friends. Nindak niyare rakhiye angan kuti chabaye, bin pani sabun bina निर्मल करे सो भाई. तो यही sir, I mean, this is what is so special about sir. He keeps telling us that criticism teaches us something new. Appreciation does not. And there are so many aspects of these value systems in the autobiography, which I would like to talk about in the second chapter of the program, when you'll give me more time, Preeti, to talk about the details from the book. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, I guess you aptly justified the title of the book, Against All Odds, and highlighting Sir's optimism that is there in the book. So from Professor B.N. Pattanaik's highlighting the weather, that definitely has a metaphorical and symbolic meaning, because it is not the literal weather that he's talking about, the Delhi's weather, but yes, the different weathers that were in the department, so as to say. The book talks about that. And also when Dvijen sir highlighted the different experiences and challenges that sir faced, and he found challenges in opportunities. Professor Sanjeev Kumar sir, when he talked about that, how this book is not only a memoir, which it actually talks about, but it is also a work of literary creations, which has an autobiographical element, it has a travel writing, it is a memoir, it also has a Prakash tradition. So I guess it's one of the a very different literary form which we have not seen as of now, which includes all the genres in just one book. And when Ragini ma'am also highlighted that how when sir says that keep your foes closer than your friends, and he has actually did that, and we have seen how he progressed in his life. So from this, we move on to our second question, that is the assessment of the book. So I would like to go with Professor Sanjeev Kumar. Sir, please provide the assessment of the book.
Thank you, Priyanka. Yeah, after having heard everybody, including Professor Pattanaik ji, Dvijen Sharma ji, Ragini Naik ji, and of course Priyanka Kalra herself. Yeah, now it's about assessment, and of course it's very difficult because it requires some mature observations on expectations of the reader. But yes, of course, as Ragini Naik ma'am has rightly said, that the title, when it says that yes, challenges and opportunities, because the challenges highlighted here in the text are very, very obvious challenges. Because there is a boy, a bachelor, joining DU, and then aspiring a lot in terms of his individual growth and of course department growth. And of course, it's quite obvious that there will be people stopping his way, going ahead, and of course putting various deterrents in is part of the progress. And of course, this is quite obvious. And my experience in the university, it has taught me that it's not something very new. This is one thing, and that's why opportunities are many, and sir could make all the challenges or convert all the challenges to opportunities in such a wonderful way through collective efforts, and of course with the help of and with the associationship with the students and younger faculty members particularly. A second very striking aspect of the text is the widgets which is visible on the title page. We can see the back of the writer, and of course that particular image, it speaks a lot. And of course it's just like looking back while going ahead. Okay, it's a typical looking back while going ahead. And of course sir did not go away from the roots. And when we read about as to how sir missed his father, how sir was always reminded of as to what his father used to say, okay, about his professional life, about colleagues, and of course sir never forgot as to what his mother used to advise him. And this is how he was always connected to the roots. And of course this looking back while going ahead, this could be visualized through the widgets available there on the title page. Third very interesting observation which I would like to share with everybody here is the second part of memoir is I found it to be rather more interesting, more engaging, and of course it is useful for everybody interested in field work particularly in context of tribal people. And the passion that sir has shown, particularly in terms of exploring lecture life, and of course, as to how sir could internalize and of course integrate himself to that culture, and of course he could convince those people, or he could like win their trust and respect to that way that he could be awarded with a very, very prestigious title, Ren. And of course, prior to that and thereafter, the association that sir had with lecture community particularly, and of course that passion and that rigorosity with which sir of course associated himself, that's something very unique. And of course, despite all the odds and despite all the like threats and like challenges coming his way during the field visits, he could like go ahead, and of course he could come out with a wonderful like associationship with that community or with the tribe, which of course deserve to be noticed. And of course, that pride must be proud to have association with Professor P.C. Pattanaik ji. And that part is the most striking part of Memwa, which I could find out. And next thing is, of course, as this is like my observation of the text with respect to sir's behavior in the department, and of course, sir's behavior with the colleagues. There is no doubt, like sir has mentioned, every name, every student, every senior and junior colleague in his memoir. And sir has shown all sort of respect and affection for all the younger colleagues, particularly students, particularly. And there are two episodes where, like in one episode, sir's son, he got seriously ill, and of course, the way students took care of him. And the second episode, when sir was serious, and of course, how sir articulated his that feeling as to how he could be saved only with the blessings and of course care and affection of his students particularly. This is something very rare, and this is rare in a human being, and it's fiction. It's something very, very true, and those who are close to sir, they can understand it, internalize it so nicely. And this is how this is a fair account of memories put together in such a way that those who could contribute a little bit to sir's life, they will certainly feel obliged, and they will certainly feel happy that sir could acknowledge them so nicely in the memoir at the end of the professional journey. And then, of course, this is something very, 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 very special about this text, that the seniors who helped sir grow, who helped the department grow, they have been so nicely acknowledged. And of course, there are few names who are recurrent in the memoir, and those names, they deserve special mention, and sir did not hesitate in giving special mention to those names. And same is the case with certain younger colleagues. And of course, there are the instances where like one student who lost his life, one younger friend, he lost his life. And of course, then of course, the correlation maintained between the two tragic events, and that's also very, very wonderful. Sir, I look forward to your students and of course younger ones like we people to follow your path. And of course, this is going to be a path-breaking memoir for others to follow. And of course, not simply style, it's not simply your colloquial way of articulation, but it's your truthfulness which gets visible from first page to the last page. And I hope that, yes, of course, your students and all the readers will enjoy the memoir. With this, I wish the writer all the very best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the wonderful assessment of the book. Now, we would like to listen from Dr. Ragini Nayak. You have time now. You can take your time.
Thank you, Preeti. I was very interested in reading this autobiography because there are many people and there are many instances, there are many anecdotes which I thought I would find, and I did find in them, which in a way reflects the fact that Sir has everyone at the back of his mind. There's not a single person who has impacted Sir's life in any particular way and has been left out of this book, which I think is a phenomenal achievement for any writer, because 35 years is a very long time. 3.5 decades, so many people, so many colleagues, so many students, so many research scholars, so many challenges, so many hardships, so many opportunities, so much of the balancing act to be done. Yet he finds most of the important people and narrates their experiences with him and his with theirs, and also in a way dramatize everything so that the reader finds it more relatable, and the reader is always in a very tight grip. The attention of the reader is there. He or she wants to listen to the story, get inspired and motivated by the story. It is said that very few people actually would dare to read their own autobiography again and again, and fewer still can look back at their career without a blush. And I think it's a sheer mark of distinction that Professor P.C. Pattanaik can not only read and reread his autobiography without any blush, can visit and revisit his career without any blush, but with a sense of pride and a sense of satisfaction. I think that is a distinction, that is a privilege which very few of us have in life. So I think it's a remarkable thing. There are 2-3 important things that I want to highlight. I mean, I don't want to be a spoiler, because I would want all the students to read this memoir, to read this autobiography. But there are 2-3 things which are just simply remarkable about this book. To begin with, as I said in my initial comment, how the ordinary can be transformed into the extraordinary. I mean, that makes Sir's work more accessible, more relatable. For example, the entire idea of writing an autobiography germinates over a cup of green tea, like a normal day, like at any normal place. We have a little bit of leisurely time. We are sitting and sipping a cup of tea, and a thought strikes and we hold on to it and we create something extraordinary out of that. Over a cup of green tea, anyone who knows Sir would know that he loves green tea. Secondly, I won't say that Sir is a struggling writer. He's written so many research papers, different books also. But any writer, be him or her a struggling writer or a writer with moderate experience, whenever he sits down to put pen to paper or fingertips to the keyboard, we just sit and ponder about how to formulate this. तो वो भी सोचते हैं, लिखते हैं उसमें, कैसे लिखूं, डायरी का जामा पहनाऊं या मेमोयर की तरह लिखूं? Should it be an autobiography? Should I write it in first person narrative style? Should I put things chronologically, or should it be a flashback? Again, very relatable to all the writers, aspiring writers, that maybe you might just struggle in the beginning, but again, out of the ordinary, you can make something extraordinary. Then there are small little concerns that he highlights in the book, which are so common, so ordinary again. I mean, the number 13. He says that generally 13 is considered to be a very unlucky number, but for him, it was very lucky. His interview began on the date 13 January 1987. I could relate to that personally, because when I contested DUSU elections in 2005, my ballot number was 13. And everybody told me, "Arey Baba, bahut unlucky hai, tum to harogi is baar." But then again, you flip superstitions, you flip stereotypes, and make something which is very mundane, very basic, or maybe very negative into something very, very positive, very extraordinary. I can go on like this. I mean, he talks about the pressure, the societal pressure and the peer pressure to take upon the science stream if you're a good student. I mean, all of us must have faced that at some point in time. Again, very relatable to me, because I also did science in 11th and 12th. I had changed streams and I took English literature, because there is a major stereotype and a stigma with the humanities stream still persisting and prevailing in our society, because people believe that those who score good take upon science or maybe commerce, and students who cannot get high percentage take upon humanities. Then the predicament of people coming from vernacular background. He addresses all these concerns in his book. Being an English literature student myself, he invokes April. the month of April, he invokes Eliot. He talks about wasteland, and then he says, no, April hasn't been the cruelest month for me. And we are actually doing this panel discussion on the last day of April. So the invocation of April becomes more, a metaphor here. So he keeps on talking about all these things. So, and suddenly you would find that he is talking about getting a recognition as a major scholar from UGC. He's talking about major projects that he's doing in collaboration with Delhi University, like Education on Wheels. And all of a sudden you would find him talking about the most mundane and basic and common thing, nuance of life, repairing his home. Then he laments about the engineering department. He talks about the general practice of threatening and intimidation to get work done in Delhi University. So all these things, grips the attention of the reader, and everyone feels that, yes, these are the problems that we face in life. These are the obstacles that we would also face, and we can actually overcome these and probably build a career as illustrious as Professor Pattanaik's. And I think this is a remarkable way of writing, because it just makes a very important connect with everyone who is reading the text. Secondly, I think the kind of value system that he wants the students and the researchers and the readers to inculcate, that is very important. And the most explicit example was his first interview, in which he says that generally there's a tendency, because all of us have applied at some point in time to be able to teach in Delhi University. We've gone through a few interviews. We know this, that all those who are waiting to be interviewed have this desire to know in advance what is going to happen inside. So whoever comes out of the interview, you just pounce upon that person. Kya hai, kaun hai committee mein, kaun baitha hai andar, kya sawal puche ja rahe, kaun se text ke bare mein puche ja rahe, ye bata dijiye, wo bata dijiye. Sir never did that. He is telling us to have faith in our own capability, to have self-confidence, to face the interviewer with all our might. And in a way, I think we all have been told this again and again and again, that if you cheat in an exam, if you cheat in an interview, you're actually cheating your own self. Very subtly, he passes on this message. And he says this is a mantra which he has consciously forwarded to all the students and researchers that have worked under him. And they have come out with flying colors in different interviews at different stages of life. Apart from this, another thing that he tells us very vocally and beautifully is that learning never stops for a teacher. So in one of the chapters, he says that he was simultaneously a teacher and a student. He was doing linguistic courses and he was teaching in the department. In a way, he's also telling us that for a teacher, learning never stops, and we have to believe that learning is a two-way process. Linguistic courses, apart from linguistic courses, when you are teaching, you also learn from students. You also learn from your own mistakes that you make in the classrooms. And if you have an open mindset about it, you would want to improve. You would want to be a better teacher. And that is what would help in building an illustrious career over the years. So, this understanding, I believe, is very important for Sir. Another thing, he has always prioritized modesty, honesty, and integrity. He has always tried to keep himself away from hypocrisy, and that is another very valuable message that he wants to send across through this autobiography. So, if I'm not wrong, he talks about the 6 vice chancellors with whom he got an opportunity to work with. So there's a small little incident. I think it was a promotion interview in which Dr. Deepak Nair, former vice chancellor of Delhi University, he actually asked Sir that as a teacher, you have been assessing your students for so many years. Do you ever assess yourself as a teacher and a researcher? And if so, please tell me on a scale of 10, where would you mark yourself as a teacher? So Sir says, as a teacher, I would give myself 7 marks out of 10, so 70%. And as a researcher, I would give myself 60%. And if you ask any of the students or colleagues who have worked with sir, they would say that the minimum would be 95% or 90% as a teacher and as a researcher. But that was a very modest answer. And Professor Nair said it in so many words. So modest. I haven't found such modest teachers in Delhi University. So modesty has to be upheld. Humility has to be upheld. Secondly, I remember there's a chapter called Headship, Hardship, Headship. Headship in the department or headship anywhere is full of hardship. All of us know that. You know, you work with the best of intentions, but somehow there's a lot of negativity around. People don't find these good intentions getting translated into work. People nitpick, both the students and the colleagues, and you don't have that sort of a free time that you would otherwise have if you don't have administrative work to do, and so on and so forth. But he makes a very important point. He says that most of the times when you talk to your colleagues, they would say that, you know, headship is not a very good thing. You know, it's very cumbersome, very tedious, very tiresome. And also, you know, I would say no to headship. I would decline if I would get the opportunity. But if and when they get the opportunity, they never decline. They would rather say, nahi, aisa kaise ho sakta hai? This is, if we decline, that would mean that we are abdicating our responsibility. We are shying away or running away from responsibility. So sir said, this is an inherent hypocrisy in the system, which he has never been able to understand, and he has tried his level best to keep away from. And I think in the department or in our daily lives or wherever we work, we find a lot of jealousy, we find a lot of backbiting, we find a lot of gossiping, we also find a lot of sabotage, but we have to keep ourselves clear from it. And we don't have to reciprocate in a similar fashion, is what Sir keeps telling us in his autobiography again and again, that we have to steer past all this. We don't have to accept that negativity. और एक मैंने दोहा भी पढ़ा था कहीं पर, जिसमें यही है कि संत न छोड़े संतई, कोटिक मिले असंत, और चंदन विष व्यापत नहीं, लिपटे रहत भुजंग. तो जीवन में बहुत विष मिलता है, बहुत नकारात्मकता मिलती है, उसे हम ग्रहण करें या उसे ना कह दें, ये हमारे ऊपर, ये कोई हम पर लाद नहीं सकता, थोप नहीं सकता. और आखिरी बात मैं जो कहना चाहती हूँ, that there is also a very detailed account of Sir's association with his seniors, with his colleagues, with his students. So he talks in detail about all the 6 vice chancellors he got an opportunity to work with, and how he always tried to do good for the department. I mentioned one program called Education on Wheels. I think that was during the time of Professor Dinesh Singh. And I remember it pretty well because I remember having a discussion with Professor Pattanaik when I came to meet him during that time. And he said that it's a wonderful program because around 1,000 students from Delhi University would be sent to northeastern states to learn about their culture, to know about the nuances of northeastern states. And it was a wonderful program. He did it. And so many other programs for the betterment of the department, and with a selfless sort of an interest. Similarly, I remember that he mentions about Dr. Indira Goswami. University wanted to confer the title of Professor Emeritus on her, and without bringing this to her knowledge. See how selfless a person could be. I mean, he didn't want to take the credit of all of this. So he prepared her lengthy bio note, drafted the proposal, did all these things, and sent it to the university so that the status of Professor Emeritus could be conferred upon her. Then he says that students actually are his real assets. He talks about, I would have to read the name. He talks about his first PhD student, Reena Mohanty. Then he goes on and on and on about his experiences with students. One incident particularly struck me as very important because there was a student named Sudhir Kumar Sahu, who was also a JRF candidate. He wanted to do a PhD under Sir's supervision, and one of the senior colleagues of the department discouraged him, saying, I mean, that why would you want to come and study in Delhi University? You wouldn't even get your material for field work here. Why don't you pursue your studies from Odisha? Sir intervened, because sir, it was not just about one student. He felt that if students would be discouraged to join MIL on the pretext that field work could not be done in Delhi, then the department would stop getting students altogether. And I want to quote the observation that he made. He said that a student, by this sort of a logic, by the extension of this logic, we will have to say that a student of geology working in the Himalayan region must find a university in that region only to pursue PhD. And saying this, I mean, intervening on behalf of that student, he ensured that the path of students coming from different nooks and corners of the country is not blocked, that students get equal opportunity to come and study in this department. And I think this is what an administrator and a passionate teacher and an optimist person could do, and no one else. I also find Sir's association with Dr. Ratnottama Das, I call her Pahi, she's a very dear friend of mine. I find their journey together to be very beautiful. I mean, she joined Sir's research project as a field worker. She flourished under his supervision, his steering, his guidance, and now she's an esteemed colleague in the same department. What a beautiful journey they have shared together. And only a selfless person would give another person, years junior and younger, same sort of a platform, same sort of a launching pad to grow under his wings. I mean, that says a lot about Sir. My name also finds a mention because I worked under Sir, and my name finds mention on page 167, 168, and that's an honor for me to be a part of this book. And I would say that there were so many times I was president of Delhi University, and I was always active in politics. And then I got married, I had a child, my son Abhyuday, I had to do the balancing act, didn't have time. So many times I felt that I just can't do it. I don't have the strength, I don't have the time, I don't even think that I'm worthy enough to do a PhD. Many a times this has happened, and all the time Sir gave me the very correct dose of hope and motivation and kept pushing me forward. And I'm sure he has done this with so many other students. And as I said yesterday, there are many of our theses wouldn't have seen the light of day if it wasn't for the helping hand that Sir was always ready to lend to all of us. In the end, I would say that he says that challenges are interesting. Yes, challenges are very interesting, because challenges not just give you an opportunity to do something new, something better in life, but they also make you a stronger person, a tougher person, a person with an indomitable will. And I think only a person with indomitable will, like Sir, could have juggled so many things at one point in time: teaching, headship, chairmanship of governing body of a couple of colleges, his field work, revisiting syllabus, work with so many tribes, the Zhuang, the Kirby land, Pomai village, the Lepcha. The Lepchas actually conferred the title of Ren on him. So all these challenges he faced, yet he spread his wings and he soared high in the world of academics. I think it is an incredible achievement. Jitna uske bare mein kaha jaye kam hai, but I think there is a constraint of time. So I would restrict myself, and it was really, really an honor to have got this opportunity to speak about this book and my experiences with Sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for the detailed assessment of the book and the curious and the happy faces in the audience. You have just aroused curiosity amongst them. And I guess most of them would love to read the book and find their names in the books. So, but yes, not taking much of the time, I'll not say much, but moving on to our third speaker, we would like to listen to Professor B.N. Pattanaik, his assessment of the book. Please, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Dr. Priti Kalra is not going to give me 2 hours to talk in brief about the book. Okay. Therefore, let me be very brief and make 2 or 3 points, and sort of that's all I can do. Now, I mean, there are a lot to say about the book. And as I said, in an eminently readable book, I said 3 sittings, I had to, I mean, it's a kind of, I spent about 7, 8 hours, virtually 3 quick sittings, and I finished it. So, and it's an unstoppable book when it comes to reading. Anyway, that's one. Okay, and if it is not, if it were not written in such an elegant style, it would not have been possible. Okay, now, but the 3 things that I want to say are this. Number one, see, to me, life writing, whether it is biography, autobiography, diaries, or whatever you call it, letters, life writing for me is actually knowledge literature. Is an example of knowledge literature. So what kind of knowledge is here? So I will mention 2 or 3 things. Number one, understand, knowledge about the person and knowledge about the environment. So, so that's it. Now, he makes fascinating observations as a linguist. I am a linguist, therefore, I can tell you this. Like, he talks about the shock that an Odia would have when he comes to Delhi. In our textbooks, when we studied Hindi in our schools and all, textbooks, we read, "Aap aiye, aap baithiye." Now in Delhi, you come and there is a rickshawala who tells you, "Baith jao." Now, sort of. So you see, this kind of linguistic come cultural shock. This is very fascinating. The person does not want to disrespect you, but the agreement features, are not the same as in standard Hindi. So this is something extremely important. And if we have to teach Hindi in Odisha and teach Hindi in the context of culture, then these things become extremely important, sort of insights. Fascinating insights. I have not seen, sort of, somebody, all of us have noticed it, but then I haven't seen somebody, sort of making a point of it. So that's interesting. Okay, the second thing is, absolutely fascinating. I'm going to sort of, I have retired. If I had not retired, I would have gotten some of my students to work on this. And now since I don't have any students, so I will myself try and see what I can write. And that is this. The Lepcha community. He says there are no abusive words. This is an impossible thing. Can't imagine. How can there be a community in which which doesn't have abusive words in its lexicon? So when I was shocked, then I read the next, about a few lines. He says that yes, it is not that they don't feel, sort of strongly about things, but they use silence, and silence is ambiguous. Silence can mean approval, disapproval, and a whole range of things. And then he also says a little later that when somebody sort of speak to somebody in a harsh, in a kind of heightened, kind of loud voice or something like that, okay, then that person, the victim, quietly leaves the place. So if there are no abusive words, what kind of devices, behavioral devices are there to compensate for this? This is a research topic. But you see, and this is mentioned in such an interesting way. And I hope, the people will take it seriously. It's an absolutely fantastic thing. The pause in communication that we know, and sort of, when you have the suggestive pauses, what do they mean? And silence of the kind that he's talking about as a compensation of the lack of, abusive words is a fascinating cultural linguistic insight. So there are so many things in that. And one more thing that he says, unfortunately, our linguists don't say this. He is a linguist, so I'm not saying by our linguist, I mean, linguists who are in departments of linguistics. He makes an absolutely important point that because linguistics is not an undergraduate subject, look at the shrinkage of opportunity for linguistic students, because they can't write linguistics, not a paper in either in public service commissions of the state or the country. Now, this is a very, very important thing, an absolutely important thing, and it comes from him, and so that's something which I found very, important. Okay. So there are a number of insights that he, ideas in, and the third thing about this literature question. The English literature department and the Odia literature department, there is a kind of, barrier, and the barrier is very difficult to overcome. Fortunately, as far as, he is concerned, he has been able to overcome that barrier because most of his students are from English department. So that's a beautiful thing. That did not happen in Odisha, but I hope this is an example. Okay, so that's linguistic part I wanted to talk about. The second thing I want to talk about is his field work. It is not the field work that it's not that I'm talking about, that is there in the book and fascinating accounts in the book. But what really struck me as I was reading it, I was remembering these Upanishadic seers, Upanishadic students. They grow up, and once they grow up, they leave the home and run away to the forest, all alone. And for what? To quest for knowledge, the knowledge that would give you truth. Here is a young person before PhD, prior to his PhD. He just goes to, he goes to a forest to meet the Zhuangs, to get data firsthand for his thesis. Now, this kind of an attitude, later, the same thing he does. He himself, all alone, quite often goes to places, these places are in the mountains, in the plains, all kinds of places, in the cities and in small towns, in remote villages where you don't even find any sort of modern communication or that. So that kind of a thing. So the desire to search, to look for data that would create knowledge, this desire, this passion, and you do it all alone. I don't think, there are many who can claim this. Okay, so this is something which is inspirational. If the first thing, the first point that I made, as somebody who looks at life writing as a knowledge literature, and this is something which I say, as somebody who finds it inspirational, nothing short of inspirational. People, imagine, just imagine. I was trying to sort of imagine that going to these villages in Odisha and to uncharted territories elsewhere, later. Now that's courage. That's courage. And that's the kind of courage to look for, information which would give you knowledge. That's fantastic. And there's so much else, to talk about what as I said, she's not going to give me 2 hours. Okay. Now, one more thing I would say, yeah. And this fascinating thing, that he knows so much about these university rules and he knows how to use them. That's absolutely fantastic. I worked in IIT Kanpur for so many years. I don't think I knew all the IIT Kanpur rules. Okay, but the kinds of, if you read the book, you read about those rules and how these rules were interpreted, misinterpreted, applied, misapplied, and all that kind of narrative. And what is interesting is, this kind of narrative can be boring. But read his book, this kind of narrative is not boring. So there is something in the writing. Okay, and then I will conclude by saying, Madam, time ho gaya na? Okay, so I will conclude by writing by saying this, that you see, I am grateful, mind my word, I am grateful to all his enemies in the department and all those who were nasty to him and all those who were sort of created hurdles in his path. Grateful to them. You know why? Tell me, what would have been the story of Krishna without Kansa? Without Kansa, what kind of story of Krishna would you have had? Gop Lila? Kya hota? So it is, as Ragini has already said, that you see the adversity, and he himself taught Ragini, that's what he said. It is adversities which give you challenge. Without adversities, there are no challenges. Okay, so that gives you challenge, and challenge brings out your best. And in his case, the best is always in genial terms, not in anger, not in a way to hurt others, but in a very genial terms. So that's something fantastic. So as I said, I'm grateful to them because without them, what kind of story would you have in the life writing that he has? So that's fantastic. Finally, I will say one thing again, talking about the odds that he faced. See, I'm reminded, all of you, many of you are students of English literature here, so you remember Ernest Hemingway, his Old Man and the Sea. Okay. And what was that old man? When the old man was see, he epitomizes what Hemingway himself said, that suffer, these three words, suffer, fight, and will prevail. And this is a story of suffering, fighting, and ultimately prevailing. Congratulations, Professor Pattanaik, and I'm delighted to read the book, and I'm sure others will enjoy reading the book. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity of interacting with you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now we would like to listen from Professor Vijayan Sharma. Sir.
Thank you, Preeti. I have been listening to everything that was being discussed by the other panelists. It is, I mean, you can keep on listening to, stories about him and the things that he has done for all these 35 years of his life in this premier institute in the capital of India. However, when you talk about the book, he begins the book by saying in capital, in bold letter, of course, "You know me, not my story. Thus it begins." And he says, yes, my story. In fact, stories, hello, am I audible, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, my story. In fact, stories within the story revolving around my workplace for more than 3.5 decades. Everything compiled from my joining till retirement. So the primary thing that he did, he tells the stories about what has happened to him, or what he has seen in the premises of Delhi University or in the premises of his department. Then he also, he didn't stop there. Within the stories, he also talked about his being a student while he was teaching at the same time. So, and then also about his fieldwork in different parts of the country and his experience in these fieldworks, his relations with many of the students, with his colleagues, and with some of the friends with whom he shared spaces in the beginning, and also with some of the academicians and colleagues in different parts of the country in the longevity of his career. Now, when he say that he's telling stories within the story, it reminds me what I think Professor Sanjeev Kumar talked about. That it's not. He's writing a kind of a memoir. There you have a travel writing. You have so many things. Ethnographic writings, etc. It reminds me of Amitabh Ghosh, particularly one of his texts called "In an Antique Land." And I believe this memoir can also be read as a postmodern text. But the moment I say postmodern, Professor Pattanaik will definitely get angry because he doesn't want to, club himself within any of these categories, because he believes in one thing: let's not, we should study Western theories, but we should not be carried away by these Western theories. Let's try to develop our own indigenous theories. And I completely agree with him. But as a student of literature, English literature, sometimes we are carried away by Western theories, and perhaps that is the reason why sometimes we try to club certain works within certain genre, within certain perspectives, within certain theories also. Now, the moment I said, the reason, or the moment when I said, that it can be regarded as a postmodern text, is precisely because it, as already mentioned by Professor Sanjeev Kumar, that it has moved into different genres, but at the same time, I would, with all responsibility, would say that this text has broken many stereotypes, and most of this revolved around his experience. if you know the person that Professor Pattanaik is, you would find that he does not believe in any stereotypes, any dogmas. He, that's the reason why sometimes, we often, have some, discussions on many issues, and therefore, you cannot, put him within any kind of, within any kind of, what you will say, any box rather. You cannot put him in anywhere. I mean, he's so fluid. His identity is so fluid. He is a fantastic father, and we can see from his dedication to his own son. He is a great teacher. We can see from his students. Even Dr. Ragini talks about it as a student. What she got, and many of his students are there today. He is a great friend, a great philosopher, and he is also a great. His love for his father again, can be found out, because he still regards the sayings that his father mentioned to him, when he joined the university or before that. You can understand the kind of relationship that he had with his father, and also with his mother and brothers and sisters. So it shows that, you cannot just put him in one space. He's so fluid. He's like water, and he just move on, and you cannot differentiate the past, present, and future in his life. It's so entailed within the persona that he is. Having said this, now let me try to find out some of the other kind of stereotype that he has broken. For instance, the question of the number 13. Now, again, this is and he himself has said, this is a Western notion that 13 is ominous. And then he tried to show through Indian philosophy and how 13 is also, numerologically and otherwise, it's also believed to be, is very helpful. It helps person in a success, because as he has mentioned here, it is believed that people who live in house number 13 are always ready to take up new challenges and are destined for fame and success. Besides, the 13th day of the lunar fortnight called Trayodasi is connected with Lord Shiva, granting long life, peace, and good fortune. And this suggests that he is also well read in Indian philosophy, and as well as Western philosophy. So this is a man, you cannot simply call him, even you cannot level him with any kind of ideology, because many a times you would find good things even in ideologies that sometimes we have a problem with. So that is something this man is. And he also would talk about other the thing that was talking about breaking of stereotypes. For instance, when he was asked by some of the people, including forest officers and others, not to mean a tribesman, particularly when he was in a field visit, and then he didn't listen to them. In fact, he didn't say anything to them, and the next day he went and tried to meet the guy, and he found that person was very good. So you cannot stop him anywhere. He takes his own decision about life. He's a man, as Professor B.N. Pattanaik has said, enumerating about the old man and the sea. He is someone who believes in existentialism, and who believes that it's individual who can break any stereotype, who can successfully overcome any challenges, and who can find opportunities in any challenges. And again, what and Dr. Ragini had said about him is that he is such a person who looks at the bright side of things. Even when you are discussing anything with him, you'll find, and even in the book, if you see, in so many instances with his in the very first day of this university life, and even when he made the then HOD of the department, it was so gloomy in the but he made he made it look so bright, for instance. So he's a person who could create brightness even in the gloomy and dark rooms, for instance. And so this is something that, you would love in that person. More than that, most of us are, culturally located. That means we are so much, institutioned in our culture that, we find it very difficult to accommodate people from other cultures, or also, we often, feel some kind of cultural dislocations in our life. But this is one man who would not. He would, in the very first time when he visited, in Delhi, may not be the first time, but the time when he visited for his interview, and he shared a room with a Telugu speaking guy, Mr. Rao, whom he could not meet later on, as he said. In that hotel, he in fact had, staff which he had never seen before. And, he ordered. In fact, the interesting is that he did not know about the dish. And so he showed to the, the waiter that this is something that I want, the person who is eating that. And this is a man who therefore, who loved to, find and accost new things, who loves to be a part of things that he would accost for the first time. And he is never afraid of anything. And this is something that, that we find in his persona even. And we also see that, in this book, particularly his, if you look at him as an ethnographer, particularly, you would find, he's going to different fields and he's staying with them. And also, he has narrated about his experience of staying in the bachelor dormitory with, strangers, and with what, anything could have happened at the time, but then he was ready to stay with them. He was ready to partake their food. And we see that these are some of the experience, that of course we find in many good literature, of the world. And therefore, this particular book has, so much to give to the young readers, not only to young readers, even to people like us, because you learn many things, vicariously and through his experience that he has narrated here. And I know that many things remain unsaid in this book. And perhaps, if you read closely, perhaps, many questions would be raised in your own mind. And, and there are instances, if you read the silences within that, you will also find the answers to many of the questions that is raised when you read this particular text. Of course, he is as a storyteller, he is so engripping. It's difficult to, as all the panelists has unanimously said, that it's very difficult to leave this book once you start reading it. And this is something, immediately when I read it and I called him up, that's he said, I never thought you could write so well. I mean, you are angry, attracted by the turn of the phrases, and from one thing's moving to the other. And you would like to know even those people, with whom he shared some kind of animosity or friendship, and many of the names that he didn't mention, you would often wanted to know. And when you talk with him, when you discuss with him, and you find that these were the people, and then he still has high regards even for those people who created some kind of problems for him, and he still keep them in high regards. And he said, he has mentioned, as Dr. Ragini has said, that to keep the friends close but enemies closer. That is something that that each one of us should learn from his experience, because that's what keep you updated about things that are that people are perhaps doing behind your back, for instance. And that helps you to also to that equips you to in a way combat what they have been planning, and also And as Foucault had says, knowledge is power. And, if you have knowledge about the other people, it helps you to somehow, conquer even those people who are, who are against you or who are not siding with you, for instance. And today what we have seen, because I have been with him, I've been close to him for last 1 decade or so, and also been a part of some of the programs of Delhi University, particularly that was stewarded by him in his department. I could find that today, when he is living, after 35 years, he has made only friends, not enemies, because even those who were against him at one point of time have become his friends. And it's so difficult to be an enemy of a person like him, so pure, so innocent, and and so knowledgeable. And he could tell you anything at any time. And that that helping attitude is another thing that we find in this book, without having himself said in so many words. You just have to read it closely, and you can understand that what he has done for so many people across the country at different point of time. And things that were not done to him by his seniors, he prefers to do it for his juniors, including his students. And this is again something that we need to learn from him. So as a young academic, and as a middle-aged academic like us, and also young academics like some of his students right now, it is very, very important to learn from this book so many things through his life, through the experience of his life, so many things that would equip us to be a better teacher, better researcher, and better administrator within the academia. So this is something that I myself had to a large extent learned. Not, I mean, in fact, I have learned so many things from this book, but yet, because whatever he has written here, it comes automatically out of his, from his heart. And often when you discuss with him, is the same language that he used. So that is the the marvelousness of him. Probably because it has come to him because he had been a linguist, he had been a literature, and a folklorist, a travellerist, and a teacher of cultural studies and whatnot. So I mean, if even if you move around with him, and you would look at some of the people making some certain signs, and you can immediately interpret it for you. Sometimes you feel as if, oh my God, this man has real good knowledge. So he has learned not only from books, but from his own experience, also vicariously through the experience of many of his seniors and teachers. And I think this book is also, in a sense, therapeutic for him, because in this book, he has also, highlighted some of the instances where he probably went wrong, or probably, I would not say wrong, but probably he, felt that he should have acted in a different way than the way he acted. So in a way, he also tries to correct those things through this writing, perhaps. And these also, makes this book so, cohesive and strong in that way. And I would end by saying that, because you can just continue, with so many things that he has written in this book, but I would rather say that this is, not only a memoir. It's more than that. It's also a story about a narrator protagonist who traversed to 35 long years of journey in one of the premier universities in a country, and who also has helmed so many bodies during the course of his career, and he very responsibly, did his work, and it's perhaps the reason why each one of us today needs to salute him and needs to learn from him what he has experienced. And even in the course of his writing, he himself said that this ends my story for now, because he has many other stories to tell, and we hope that in future he will write some more books where he will tell us, so many other stories, and by which we'll all be benefited. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. And thank you to all the panelists for the wonderful assessment of the work. And I guess you have rightly pointed out that how this is an inclusive work, because this not just includes the colleagues, the family or the friends, but the random people he met and the ambiguous characters, the curiosity. I guess few of us who have read the book, the first question that pops up, why he did not meet a person. I will not say the name because let the readers read it. So let the curiosity remains. I'll not say the name. So these are the things that remain, and we also see that how it is not just a travelogue, but along with him we travel through the streets of the University of Delhi, and we see that how even the emblem of the university is not just a symbol, but it has a volumes to speak, and he writes it in such a beautiful manner. And in our research methodology classes, he has been teaching us that keep it short and simple, and that's what the book is. The sentences, very short and simple sentences, yet it binds the reader. It would just intrigue the reader and would want to read more and more. And every time things comes up, the tricks are being revealed, and this is particularly for the first student, that the tricks that he used. And I just shared one simple trick, when he motivates his students and he appreciates his students in front of others, and that is the trick he have used with most of us. And when I read the trick, I just texted him, sir, your trick is being revealed right now, and now I know from where it is coming. So each one of you'll just relate to different stories, different narratives, and I hope, sir, they'll just question you, and they'll text you, they'll question you that what is this, what is this. So I'm not supposed to reveal many things. I'll just move to the last final question, that is the concluding remarks, and we would like to start with Professor B.N. Pattanaik. Sir, please just the nutshell observation as a reader in just 2 minutes. Sorry, we have this time constraint. So
okay, first minute. See, I never got this opportunity. So let me use this forum for that. Yesterday, or day before yesterday, Professor Pattanaik gave me a research problem, and I am 81 years old. 35 years ago, when I was, he has written about it, when I was speaking at a sort of, when I was giving a talk in Utkal University, he asked a question. I remember the question, but I do not remember what I said. I could not have said anything interesting because I had never thought about it. And after that, I started looking at that research, that topic in a different way. Just one thing. See, I was talking about names, and I was analyzing names. But then the names that I was studying, the names that I had studied were names of coastal people. Now he confronted me with the names of, sort of tribal children, tribal people. I didn't have the data. I didn't know. And then, so I knew the limitations of, sort of equating sort of Odia names to the names of people in the coastal area. So just as my research area, sort of his question changed my attitude or changed my research area. Similarly, he gave me a topic, no abusive words, and I have told you about that. So I'm thankful to you, Professor Pattanaik. At this age and 35 years ago, you have given me very fascinating ideas. And number two, see, that point has been made already by by so many and all that, and McKinsey and others also. See, I was reading this book many years ago, Istanbul, by Orhan Pamuk. Now, read Istanbul. When you read Istanbul, you know that it is Pamuk's story and it is also the story of the city. The two stories merge. Beautiful. I had never read a book like that. So that's a beautiful book. So this point has already been made that if you read Professor Pattanaik's book, it's the story of the department and his own story. So together, right? So that's a line of, I'm saying this because this kind of writing is in that line where an individual story is also the story of the environment, and the environment story is also the story of the individual. Okay, now after saying this, give me 30 seconds. Okay, the book that I want him to write. Okay, now just because I want him to write that book, there will be 100 people who would like their own, their own sort of choices. He's not going to oblige, and I don't want him to do that. But you see, there is one thing. See, we also would like to know his childhood, the schools that he went to, the students he had. Sort of high school. That's the high school is the time when you dream, when you have aspirations. You do not understand the world, and you have those aspirations, and then you come to college. Okay, and slowly your illusion gets created, some illusions get dropped. So that kind of fascinating story of growing, and wonderful place of Keonjhar, the wonderful waterfalls and the trees and all that kind of thing, we want to know about that. Okay, and finally, I also want to know about that food which you introduced me in Delhi. I can't remember that food. It's a chicken dish which has a number from 50 to 53, then there is a name. Well, I don't remember that dish. Okay, it's a fascinating dish. Tell us about these things. We didn't have them in Odisha. We have them elsewhere. So that kind of story, that narrative, what I can call is a narrative of, not the mainstream, but the things under. That kind of narrative I look forward to. So thank you very much. And thanks for giving me this opportunity of interacting with you all on this.
Sir, thank you.
This extremely important occasion.
Now we would like to listen from Professor Vijay Sharma,
Sure.
his observation as a reader.
Yeah, I think everyone should read this book, Against All Odds, because, most of us today who are here, most of us are academician or aspiring academician. And it's very important to know about the politics in academia. It's very important to know about the rules and regulations. It's very important to know about, how to deal with your students. And as Preeti herself has said, that, through his certain acts of his, his tricks are revealed. You should also know how to deal with the students thereby. So, and he's one person, whom everyone loves. And this is something that I find it, extremely today in today's world, very few people are being extremely revered and loved by not only the students, by colleagues, by well-wishers, by friends, and even the enemies finds it difficult to say anything against him. And therefore, this book would reveal the tricks of how he dealt with all the odds or all the challenges in his life, particularly during his career in Delhi University, and how he brings out many opportunities out of these challenges. And this is something worth reading for everyone. So I request each one of you out here to buy this book and read it, because this is something amazing. And I'm telling you, you will learn many tricks and which will help you in your life, whether you're an academician or not. But even because many times, let me just reveal as well, he also, helps me in dealing with my wife as well. As my senior, because I take advices from him. So that's how, you would learn many tricks from him. He is a man of idea. So with this, I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Ragini Nayak, please provide your views.
Well, so much has already been said in this panel discussion. I would just say that, you must have heard this saying that fools learn from their own experience. Wise men learn from others. There is so much to learn from Sir's experience. There is so much to learn about triggers and deterrents and hardships and obstacles and determination and dedication and discipline. At the cost of repeating myself, I would say that you must, all of the students and faculty and whosoever is listening to me, you must get your hands on this book, and you must also spread the message to others to get their hands on this book and read it through. I think there are two important lessons, takeaway lessons of universal value for everyone. The first one would be that hardships are inevitable. You have to face hardships in life head on. You have to try and tame them, master them with what I call 3Ds. I've already talked about that. And Sir keeps talking about these, not in so many words, but he hints at these, and his behavior, his work ethics also reflect the same. The 3Ds: determination, dedication, and discipline. Secondly, he makes a very interesting comment about troublemakers. So you would always find troublemakers in life. You will find rumor mongers, you would find gossipers, you would find backbiters, you would find leg pullers. The trick is to keep deleting them from your memory. The trick is to keep pushing them down into the recycle bin of your life. They're not worth the importance that we generally give to troublemakers. So no troublemakers, no negativity, positivity in life. You have to keep moving forward. These two important messages, I think, are a takeaway for everyone who's heard this panel discussion. The rest, I think you should read your own book. You read this book and try to take messages for your own struggles. Just like Gandhi said that his experiments are meant for his own life, and the experiments might change with time for other people. Similarly, with what Sir has faced in his life, there are anecdotes, there are mantras that we can imbibe, we can learn from, and then use them in our own lives. That is why it is very important to read this book. And towards the end, I would like to dedicate a sher to Sir, which I wanted to say yesterday, but I could not, so I won't miss this opportunity. Sir, आपके सम्मान में मैं ये जरूर कहना चाहती हूँ कि कलम ना हो तो लहू तर्जुमा नहीं होता. अगर लिखने वाले नहीं होंगे, इतिहासकार नहीं होंगे, तो कोई भी क्रांति हो जाए, कितना खून बहे, वो आगे की पीढ़ियों को पता नहीं चल पाता है. तो कलम ना हो तो लहू तर्जुमा नहीं होता, और इस दौर में आंसू जुबा नहीं होता. जहां जाएगा वहीं रोशनी फैलाएगा, किसी चिराग का अपना मकान नहीं होता. तो 35 साल दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय को और MIL को प्रोफेसर प्रकाश पटनायक ने प्रकाशमान किया, रोशन किया. मैं समझती हूँ अब आप आगे जहां भी जाएंगे और लोगों के जीवन को, जो कहा जाता है तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, अज्ञान के अंधकार से ज्ञान के प्रकाश की ओर जरूर लेकर जाएंगे सर. I think your canvas is only getting bigger. It's not getting smaller. Now the world is your canvas, and you have to imprint it with all the positiveness, with all the optimism, with all the sheer energy that you have given to the department in Delhi University. और मैं चाहती हूँ कि ऐसी और बहुत सी किताबें लिखी जाएं, ऐसे और बहुत से नए स्टूडेंट्स आपको मिलें, आप उनको और इसी तरीके से प्रेरित करते रहें हमेशा. My best wishes, sir, and I have to say that I will be eternally indebted to you. I am eternally indebted to you. I wish you more adventures and more feathers in your cap. And I have to say one last thing for Professor B.N. Pattanaik. Sir, you have the energy, you have the vitality, you have the eagerness and curiosity of a fresher, a first-year student. And this is inspirational, sir. I mean, I just don't have words to express my delight I haven't met you, I haven't had the opportunity of conversing with you, but the sheer energy that you are refusing right now, I think it's brilliant, sir. And it is an inspiration for middle-aged people like us and youngsters who are listening to this conversation and discussion. And Preeti, you have been wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. It was a magnificent experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now we would like to listen from Professor Sanjeev Kumar.
Yeah, thanks, Preeti. There may be some disturbance because I'm traveling, but yes, of course, one thing I missed in my assessment, and that is, of course, this text may also be taken as a Thanksgiving text. Actually, if you read it from first to last, then of course you will see that whoever came his way, sir did not miss any name, and he has so nicely thanked everybody who has contributed to his growth as an academic, as a researcher, as a human being, particularly while he was serving there at the University of Delhi. And the most fascinating thing about the Thanksgiving exercise is when sir was with ma'am and Gaurav there in that lecture event. And of course, the way lecture people received our ma'am and the honor that she was given there. And of course, the very statement made by sir, and the statement is, of course, this is how he was in a way happy that madam might have realized that this is why I was away, or I used to be away from home for so many days together. And ma'am was so happy. So this is the biggest thanks that you might have conveyed to ma'am. And really, I must remember those lines. And of course, I must acknowledge her contribution to your making. And of course, that you have so nicely done there in the book also. This is one thing. And then, of course, I can see here three faces particularly. Preeti Kalra, Ragini ji and Ankita. The three scholars of Pattanaik ji. Others might also be there, but because their faces are not visible. And sir, as he says, as he practices, and the idea of kiss that Preeti has just mentioned, and this idea of short and sweet. And this idea of short and sweet can be observed by any reader of the thesis produced by these scholars. And sir has produced so many theses or so many scholars, and I had the opportunity to go through some of the researches, and I found them to be very brilliant, very what should I say, canonical. And I always refer to these theses in my classroom also, and I also guide my students to follow these scholars from University of Delhi who are working with Professor Pattanaik ji. And sir, of course, these students will always remember you. And of course, I enjoyed their viva. Ankita, Preeti Kalra, Ragini ji. And Ragini ji, you can see, all of you can see, she has always been so generous and of course in expressing her thanks to her teacher. And same is the case with Preeti and other scholars. And once again, uh, uh, before I conclude, Professor B.N. Pattanaik ji has raised one more expectation, and that is to add one more dimension to this text, and that is Bildungsraum and technique. And Bildungsraum and technique is how does character grow. And of course, sir has expected Pattanaik sir to start his journey from childhood days onwards. With this, once again, my hearty compliments to Professor Pattanaik ji, and of course, my thanks to ma'am for enabling our sir to do such a wonderful job during his spell at University of Delhi. And thanks to Gaurav for helping our sir during his journey. Of course, thanks everybody. Division Sharma ji, thanks a lot. Preeti, thanks a lot. Pattanaik ji, thanks a lot. And of course, Ragini ji, thanks a lot. Everybody, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you all the panelists for such a wonderful discussion on the book. Now I would quickly move to the moment I guess we all are waiting for. We would love to listen from sir So, sir, please give us your views, your perspectives on the book. So please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Kriti. Very renowned panelists who discussed on my books. The learned audience who have been waiting for nearly 1.5 hours to listen about the books. And my students who have provided material for writing the books directly or indirectly. And those who have encouraged, I apologize to them, particularly Dr. Venkat, who has been helping me. Students like Sai Kaur, Ratotama Das, Raina Boal, Preeti, those who have listened to my stories, they have repeatedly told me, why are you not writing something? I did not disclose that time that it is the process. Even till now, I have been taking all help from Dr. Venkat, providing technical support. This program is also running because of its support in conducting the session. I have not disclosed because I wanted to keep it a surprise. Surprise, I have justified in the last part of my work. Why did I keep it a surprise? Of course, it was revealed just few hours before to Dr. Tomadas by one of my very good friend from Odisha. He disclosed. And we tell him, if you want to pass this information to the friends in Odisha, you tell to one person, they will get, and that exactly has happened today. So I am also indebted to him for doing that. Now, as Professor Sanjeev Kumar said, yes, I have taken the help of my son on two things. He read it. The first title that was suggested by me was Mind Recounts and Heart Speaks. After reading the whole book in few days, he said, this doesn't match. When you are talking about challenges and opportunities, this title should not be that romantic kind of thing. The mind recounts and heart speaks, and which I was not expecting from a boy of his age, not to be romantic. I want him to grow. But then I understood, yes, and immediately I agreed to that. Another interesting, I'm not talking about the work because already the 5 renowned panelists, I include Priti Kalra, those who have read from the beginning till end, they have already discussed, and I am keeping other things to be disclosed by the readers themselves, so I'm not going to touch that. And the cover page. These are the pictures you must have been shared in the Facebook. These were taken in Andaman, and none other than my son who took it. This is Kalapathar beach of Neil Island. I was sitting in the morning in a very casual dress. The picture was taken from the back, and we liked it. And when I had shown to my publishers that can we put this as the cover page, he immediately agreed to it. He said there is no need to think for the second thing, we are keeping it. So this is about the cover page. And we had listened to the panelists. Dr. Ragini Naik mentioned one thing, my answer during the promotion interview, when the question asked by Professor Pattanaik. One thing you can now certify or get the proof that one of the experts who was conducting the interview is also present today is none other than Professor B.N. Pattanaik. He was present in that selection committee. So he can attest that the information I have provided is not an exaggeration, fact. And that all the panelists must have mentioned about the keeping enemies closer. In fact, I should be honest here at home also, that is not my line, that has been added by my son. And after reading that. So this is the thing I wanted to inform. And of course, when you make a journey for 35 years, writing a work that runs 260 pages, if you ask the same person to talk about it, to be each line is important, and each line has some information. Some of the learned participants who read and discussed with me asked, why did you not mention the names where you got some problem? That is obvious in human lives, because ups and downs will always be there. And I don't have to answer that. Professor P.N. Pattanaik has already given the answer. And in any narrative, you don't speak more about the people who have helped. We just mention as a kind of acknowledgement. But definitely, the story moves with the others who try to trouble you, who create situation which is adverse, that is against all odds. And when I am asked to speak, I don't know where to begin and where to end. I only request my friends, those who have spent more than 1.5 hours today, and they have attended in large number, even the Zoom limitation has crossed. Please spend some money and buy the books, so that the publisher will also be encouraged to publish the future assignment that has been suggested or put on me by none other than Professor Pattanaik. And I have made it a point. You may expect a good deed from me, but don't expect a complimentary copy, except the panelists who have discussed on that. That is not possible. And I'm against that, publishing books and distributing the prints to read. Those who value it, they can read. But I hope you will get things, perhaps what you want, or some more information. As Professor Sanjeev Kumar has said, Professor Vijan Sharma has said, that I have tried to put my students and giving my priority, that I always say they are my asset, and I have maintained them. So you will find mentioned somewhere or other. You don't have to worry. You have not troubled me. You have encouraged me to write in this piece. Professor Umadevi said it is not possible for her to attend. Otherwise, she would have been happy, because just 2 months before, she was giving this suggestion along with Dr. Venkatramaya, and that time the book was already completed, and it had gone to the publisher, to get the first draft. So there was no other intention, just to create a curiosity. I did not like to, tell this thing before, but I have given the reason behind that, and that was the advice of my father, that Professor Sanjeev Kumar mentioned about the father, how I lived with him. So don't expect more than this. I'm speechless, but I will be telling in my duty if I don't thank the panelists. It's a very tedious job. I am not a writer in that way people think, but they have taken the pain to read the whole book. And Professor Pattanaik says he's at age 81 now, but he finished it. He could finish it in 3 days, 260 pages. Even I cannot do that. Professor Vijan Sharma also finished around the same time and started asking many things. So there I feel that perhaps the readability of the text is maintained. I want the audience today to become the readers of my past work. And after getting the feedback from all of you, I will proceed in this direction. Some of my friend written, and including my publisher friend, perhaps he's not going to join us. He left because he had some other work to do. He said the life actually begins after 60, Now, this is a new, area I should start exploring, and I thank him for that. But he should know it is not 60 to 65. So I don't know what will happen after that. Yes, couple of projects are in mind, and it all depends on your feedbacks. I don't have anything else to tell right now. I have nothing. I started noting down something. Then after that, I started noting down what the learned intellectual panelists they assessed about the book and their assessment. So my notes are mostly on that. I don't want to give a summary of that. I take this opportunity to thank them, and no words is sufficient to thank them, who could finish reading in a short span of time and could spend the evening. Also give the best assessment, perhaps that I was not expecting, but I'm happy. Definitely anybody will be happy. I'm also a human being. I'm happy. I also equally thank the audience, my students and friends. The invitation had gone not as student, it had gone as friends. So all of them are my friends. And now in the social media era, all are friends, at least Facebook friends, for giving their valuable time and joining the session. I'll be more happy if they plan to read my work. And thank you, Preeti, for shouldering the responsibility and doing excellent job. Dr. Venkat, no words. You have done a flawless academic, technical activities, and you are giving a permanent step to this work. And this has shown that we can move in this direction. So what we heard in the beginning, that nothing is better than offline. We have tried to prove that online has also, that is, the pandemic has taught us. And thank you. Namaskar to all of you. So I stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. And thank you for giving us this book. And I know each one present here in the audience, but most of you, I guess, the link is in the chat box. So I guess most of you must have even ordered the book. I can see the happy faces in the audience. So I guess, sir, Mr. Subhanshu is not here, the publisher.
Yes, I read a message in the chat box. He had to leave with some other assignment, but he has already given it is Amazon on Amazon sale. It is available, and there is a link has been there in it. Audience.
Okay. So I
close the session.
Okay. Okay. So I would like to thank each one of you for joining us today. And I would like to end the session. But before ending, I would like to say that sir is beyond his time, beyond his age. And when I say this, beyond his age, beyond his time, that is a quote. You will get to know why I'm saying this when you read the book. So let the curiosity remain. I'll not reveal that. And yes, we all know that how close he is to the department, how close he is to his colleagues, his students, and what department means to him. So I would like to end the session with one of the paragraph or one of the quote. This will now be a quote from the book, and that will just reveal us that how dedicatedly he has worked in the department. So I quote, "In true spirit, if anyone sees my department, they would find that it has flourished in all respects during the last 2 decades. This is what makes me happy. I always argue that a faculty member should be identified in the department's name where he works, not the other way around. People will come and go, do their work, but the place always remains in its class to welcome others. It is like a small stage where, no matter the role, our motto is to perform. So I hope each one of us learn from sir and perform our duties in the outside world. That's definitely a stage. perfectly like he has done. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Preeti.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Dr. Venkat, once again, I thank you. Now you can leave. You want to close?
Sir, thanks a lot. And once again, congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I request everyone. I request everyone, just with one voice, we will say all together, congratulations, sir.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations,
sir.
Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Once again,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Sir, I like to say Achule.
Achule, okay. Achule, yes. Dr. Rai speaking from Kalipong. Achule.
Yes, sir, Achule.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Good night. Andariki namaskaram.
I think Gaurav has shared the Amazon link through which the book can be bought. So all of us can check it in the chat box. Gaurav, to Gaurav.
Yes, so please buy your copies. You'll not get the complimentary copy, but definitely you can get it signed from sir.
One small, okay, I will talk to you, Preeti. Thank you. Thank you.
No, please say. Please say you wanted something. Yeah.
No, sir. Again,
So we want a signed copy. The personalized copies.
Of course, generally after once the book is out, then we don't need to take permission from author. So this book, Zoom link is there up to 27. Before that, there will be again panel discussion or maybe seminar or webinar. So very soon we will try to organize that responsibility. We will give it to two people. One is Preeti Kalra, another one is Ratnathama madam.
Okay,
so we want to.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this 27th Zoom will be over. Before that, we will try to have. So again, we will discuss on the same book. We will read and we will come out after.
Yes, please read it, sir.
Thank
Everyone
Thank
should
you.
read it.
Okay.
Shall I close it, sir?
Yes, please. Again, namaskar. And thank you, Dr. Pattanaik, especially because she was representing the student side and did an excellent job.
Thank you,
And
sir.
all
But
other panelists.
thank me. It was my duty, and it was such an easy, such a enthralling and engaging read, sir. Wonderfully written.
I think we should. Arpan is on screen. Perhaps he wants to say something.
So, when you say that a person should not be bigger than the department, but your personality is bigger than the department, sir. So without you, I don't think I have a department now.
Not like that. Department will remain, and we all will contribute. Okay, we'll very soon we'll have another opportunity to meet and discuss. So with your permission, Arpan, we are closing the session. Okay, please.
Thank you, sir.